Okay, so let's jump into a really big question, one that's right at the heart of how we think about business today. When you picture a company, who is it really for? Is it just about making money for a few people, or is there something bigger going on? Let's get into it.
So, who actually needs companies to be responsible? Just take a second and think about that. The answer might seem simple at first, but it's actually way bigger and, honestly, more interesting than you'd expect. Turns out, it's pretty much everyone.
To really understand that, we first have to wrap our heads around a company's true reach. It's not just a logo or an office building. It's more like a hub with all these connections that stretch out in every direction, touching lives and the planet in ways we don't always see.
And that brings us to the single most important word in this entire explainer: stakeholder. The definition is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. A stakeholder is anyone, literally anyone, who is affected by what a company does.
Now, this idea completely challenges the old school way of thinking. For like decades, the whole game was about the shareholders, the owners. But this stakeholder idea just blows that wide open. It says, hey, wait a minute, the circle of who you're responsible to is way, way bigger.
So, if it's not just the owners, then who are we talking about here? All right, let's meet the key stakeholders. Think of it as opening up the story to include a whole new cast of characters.
First up, the most obvious group, right? The employees. These are the people who pour their time, their skills, their energy into the company every single day. Their paychecks, their safety on the job, their chance to grow, it's all directly linked to the company's choices. They have a massive stake in what happens.
Next up, there's you and me. We're the customers. Every single time we decide to buy something, we're essentially casting a vote. We are powerful stakeholders, and we expect things like good quality, fair prices, and for products to be made ethically. We hold a lot of power to keep companies in check.
And that web of connections doesn't stop there. No company is an island, right? It depends on a whole chain of other businesses, the suppliers. The way a company treats those partners, with fair deals and paying on time, that sends ripples through the whole economy.
Now let's zoom in even closer to the neighborhood level. Think about a factory, or even just a small coffee shop in your town. Sure, it creates jobs and pays taxes, which is great, but it also affects traffic, local culture, maybe even noise levels. The community where a business sets up shop is a huge stakeholder.
And finally, there's a stakeholder that doesn't have a voice, but is maybe the most important of all: the environment. Every single thing a company does uses up resources, creates some kind of waste, or has a carbon footprint. The health of our planet has a major stake in how every business, big or small, operates.
Okay, so we've identified all these different groups, right? The stakeholders. But why does it matter? Why is thinking about them so important? This is where we go from just knowing who they are to actually doing something about it.
This right here is the fundamental shift. The old way was like having tunnel vision, a laser focus on making money for the owners, period. The responsible way? That's like switching to a wide-angle lens. You have to see the whole picture and consider the impact on all those groups we just talked about. It's a completely different way of seeing the world.
So what does that look like in the real world? It all comes down to engagement. And that's not just some corporate buzzword. It means really listening to what employees are worried about. It means responding to what customers are saying. It means building strong, fair relationships with suppliers and being a good neighbor. It's about having a real conversation, not a one-way street.
And all this engagement and wide-angle thinking, it leads us to a new kind of goal. You could call it the responsible bottom line. It's not just about the profit and dollars and cents anymore. It's about creating real value for everyone involved.
So this is what that responsible bottom line really looks like in practice. It's the simple idea that happy employees work harder, that loyal customers keep coming back, and that being a good member of the community makes it a better place to do business for everyone. Value isn't just squeezed out for the owners, it's created with and shared among everyone who has a stake in the outcome.
And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If we're all stakeholders in some way, as workers, as consumers, as neighbors, then what's our role in all this? What power do we have to actually push for and even demand this kind of responsible leadership from the companies that shape so much of our world? It's definitely something to think about.